doing? My name is Thunder, and welcome to part 33 and the finale, at long last, of Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2. Now, the only thing we really have left to do at this point is to conclude up the other wanderers that are remaining in the game. And boy, unlike the bosses, there are still quite plenty of them to show off, so this is going to be quite a longer video in comparison. But the first up we have here is this pink Silvia S14 that I ran into a couple times. I don't know if it was shown on screen or not, but the wanderer never wanted to face me, so I was never able to actually get anywhere with it. But it is Thrill Seeker. As far as I know, Thrill Seeker shows up when you, I think you defeat a certain member of Black Knights. I think it was Brown Nose or something, because apparently that wanderer has like a crush on that person or something. But no, never wanted to challenge me. So as you see here, I'm just kind of mostly fooling around, since my Toyota Chaser that I have here is considerably better than her Silvia. I didn't really bother to downgrade the cars to make the races more competitive. I just kind of wanted to show off what they were. But speaking of larger vehicles like my Chaser, next up we have here is a brownish, it's a light brown Nissan Gloria Cedric Y34. One of the two, but this is Firestorm, and as you see here, I chose an interesting choice of car, which I thought would have been pretty nice. The R30 Nissan Skyline RS. Now I know I think I said R31 at when this car originally first showed up, but no, it's an R30. So I was an idiot for getting it wrong, but it doesn't matter, because since this is all post commentary, that's why I can easily just say anything like that. I was obviously going to do post commentary for this, because this I already knew well ahead of time when I was going to get towards recording this part, that it was going to be a bit of a longer one, especially because of just how many wanderers there are in the game. Now again, like I said, it's just focus. I think what I did with the bosses, it's just focusing on the wanderers I hadn't faced yet. You can see that R30 really does not turn. It's just focusing on the wanderers that I didn't actually face during the actual LP, so that's why we're only just focusing on those ones. But next up we have here is a Toyota Celica. It looks to be like a GT4, could be a regular SS2, I don't know, but it is Lone Wolf, not the John Lone Wolf that I know, but Lone Wolf as in this wanderer. And I decided to get out a S14 Silvia for this, and this car is actually pretty damn impressive. It gets over 500 horsepower when you tune it up to the max in this game, and that's still a B-class car, so it's a pretty impressive car, to say the least. Almost overshot it a little bit there, but it was not really any biggie, because of course I would have been so far ahead that even needing to really slow down would not have hurt me too badly. But speaking of an S14 Silvia, here's another one, except just considerably less done to it. It's not only by exterior, but also under the hood. It's just it wasn't anywhere near fully tuned as mine. In fact, we have Phantom X, which I kind of like the name, but as you can see here, I am driving a Suzuki Cappuccino, and I went with a green with yellow stripes here, so it's kind of like a British racing scheme in a way. But of course it's a Japanese car, so it wouldn't make sense. But it does. I thought it looks nice with the Cappuccino, and the Cappuccino's not a bad car. I mean, it's a very lightweight car, and it can make about 145 horsepower. So it does move. So that's why I thought I'd show it off against Phantom X. Even with his S14 Silvia, I was still able to pull off the victory, which I thought was pretty cool, to say the least. Yeah, I overshot it a little bit just over there, and of course he kind of didn't, so he could easily take the corner, because again, the AI seems to just do better than you in pretty much all the corners, so you kind of have to get used to that, which really sucks, but I digress. So yeah, pretty much, this one does go on for a bit longer because of what happened, but as you're about to see here, I actually am catching up, which shocked me even. And I passed him there, and pretty much up to this point I never relinquished the lead again. It's pretty interesting how this little Suzuki Cappuccino was able to beat a wanderer like that. I mean, sure, it's not the best wanderer in the game, by far not the best, but you know, it was still neat to see this little car perform such a feat. So it's pretty interesting. I should have tried the Honda Beat and the AutoZan, but the Cappuccino's always been my favorite of the three, so yeah, there's that one. And then next up we have here is a Subaru Impreza Wagon. which, now this one's particularly a little more interesting. I think one of the wanderers we saw earlier is also the same case. This is for the other side, but you know that little Yaesu area that we kind of never really gone into in this game because, well, I never really had much of a point to go there because rivals never show up? Well, that is true. In the case of Yaesu, there's actually 2 wanderers for both the inner and outer side of the Yaesu that actually show up. I think under certain stipulations, but there are 2 that show up. They'll just be parked in a little area. They'll be chilling there, and once they kind of appear on the screen or you're past them, they start moving. But this is one of them, and it's Sai the Barbarian, which is you know, pretty interesting choice. And also, if you're wondering about this car I'm driving, this is actually a still 80s. I should have really. I never really show off the front because of the replays cutting them out, except for the last one. But this is not a 180 SX I'm driving. This is the still 80, so it's, you know, half right. And then something kind of happened here. I thought it was going to lead to a draw, but never happened because that suddenly shot down and it was a win. And then here we have another S15 Silvia. And it's like the 3rd Silvia already. A lot of the wanderers tend to drive Silvias, but this is a purple S15 with the red wheels. It is wasted speed. And so here I got a Honda Integra. So that's like a really bad choice of a BAD name. Would you really want your name to be Wasted Speed? Because I don't know. I have like no fucking idea. Sorry, I just had to message someone because they're messaging me about their work shift and when we could get a hold of each other. So not really any big deal. Just wanted to get to that. I still wish I could be working right now. Just not necessarily so I'm doing work, just necessarily so I can get a paycheck, so I can, you know, at least be able to afford more things I could get, like upgrading this computer at some point down the road, because I really would like to do that. But here we got a purple RX-7 known as Babe Master. Yep, around the same area that you can find a red light, which was already shown during the actual like playthrough of the story or the career mode. There's also Babe Master in the purple RX-7. So yeah. And I'm just also talking to a friend right now on how to use Sony Vegas. He's saying it's like the most unfriendly app ever. It really isn't. Once you, like, I use Sony Vegas for when I edit my videos. I don't use Movie Maker, I don't use Adobe Premiere, I don't use Final Cut Pro because I don't have a Mac. But I pretty much just stick to, I've been using Vegas for the last few years, and I have it well knowledge. It's really simple to use once you understand. It's not like unfriendly wise. I find like Adobe Premiere is a little more unfriendly, but then again, that's probably just because I've never used it. So here's another particular car. This is Wildman in the green MRS or MR2. Showed up several times during this. It showed up several times during the one outside. I keep forgetting its name. I always like to just call it the Haneda because it's a simpler term. But even though it's really not, it's like Kasumi Geki or something. This guy showed up frequently, a lot, but would never face me. So I don't really know how to do it. This is not my save. This is just a save that has all the rivals accessed. So, anyways, but this one is pretty cool. It's got a yellow Mitsubishi GTO that my bud of mine just loves the name of quite a bit. You probably saw a little bit of here, but this is Mosquito Man, or as he says it, Mosquito Man. It's probably not even close to being accurate the way he said it, but whatever. Also known in the later games because he does return as Mosquito Lemon, which is a pretty interesting thing. I wanted to try the Honda Prelude on this game because I always liked the Prelude, but in this game it's quite disappointing. I mean, its speed is okay, but it's nothing really spectacular either, and its handling leaves a lot to be desired. It just doesn't grip enough, I find. Although I am doing quite a decent job of driving it, it's just I was really hoping for something better with the GTO here. Not the GTO, sorry, the Prelude. The GTO's the guy who's trying to face me. Yeah, the Prelude is more than likely a car that you would probably want to pass up because it's just not that good to use. But regardless, I just wanted to try it anyways, and it still resulted in a win over Mosquito Man, though it was quite a lengthy one because I could never really shake him off. But I still got the win regardless. And another guy here, well, not I say another guy, it's supposed to be I think it's a girl who drives this one, but okay, but yes, this is Restless Angel, who drives a blue Mitsubishi Lancer. Now, this one only particularly shows up if you have a lot of money. I think it's like 1,000,000 CP, which could be another reason why I tried to use the CP code. I tried getting, even though I could get it to work, the Wanner still didn't want to face me, so I had to leave it for this particular part. And I got my M3 out, because the M3 is just quite an impressive car, to say the least. But yeah, I was still talking to my friend here. He's still a bit concerned about using Vegas because he's never used it, but it's really pretty simple once you get the hang of it. It's all those tutorial videos online. So I'm just gonna let him know about there's tutorial videos. But anyways, sorry, I didn't really expect to be asked this during around the time I was going to record this. But regardless, you remember Silverwolf or whatever from the first TXR1 as a boss? Well, in this game he's been demoted. I guess I like to say demoted because he's just a wanderer now, and he kind of took himself out. Like, so that was a really short one because he just killed himself really easily. So hey, here's another Datsun 240Z, by the way. This particular one, however, is not the A-Class like monster that Triple Question Mark drives. This is actually a C-Class vehicle, and I am in the B-Class 240ZG that Iron Man drives, which was already in the LP, which is why he's not going to show up. But it's kind of really disappointed. Whilst the A-Class 240Z with the Skyline engine is a monster, it is by far the best car in the game. These B-Class and C-Class Datsuns, in comparison, are just really disappointing. They're just nowhere near as good. I mean, of course, they're slower because they're lower class and they have more of their original engine. But as you can see here, the 240ZG struggles after 130 miles an hour, and same case with the C-Class 240Z there. But the car cannot turn. For some reason, a lot of the older cars in this game cannot turn. It's especially worse with some other cars that we're going to see later, but I'll get to those once they show up. It's really disappointing. Like, these are some really nice cars to drive, and they're just killed by the fact that they're just so poor in terms of handling. It's really a disappointment, to say the least. But at least for the sake of Datsun, there's the A-Class one, which is a monster and has tremendous handling in comparison. So yeah, even though Mechanic Matt here is a C-Class car, my car wasn't any better than his. So to say the least, it's just kind of a bit of a disappointment. But so I thought I was gonna have to redo it, but he ran into the wall there, and that ended the race, giving me the win because he was only on like a pixel left. And moving on to different things, we now have here a green Nissan 180SX, which actually kind of looks quite nice without the wing, I must say so myself. But this is Typhoon Rider. Now that's a name I would like to have as a BAD name. Typhoon Rider is pretty. Excuse me. Typhoon Rider is pretty nice. And we'll pause there. It was so short, which is why I didn't cut it out. And the emblem that the guy uses is pretty badass. I really quite like it, quite a bit. Don't tell me I'm losing my voice now here. That would be pretty bad, because I still have to record some my next game after this, which I've already said in the comments at the time I edited this video on part 31, because the guy was asking me what's after this. So, which I'll say it right now, if you don't want to look at the comments, the next game I'm gonna be playing is Automodelista, because that's a pretty interesting game. I thought I'd like to show off. It would make a decent LP. But here we have Sherman the Conqueror. Sherman the Conqueror. It's a pretty interesting name. to say the least. He also happens to have the R30, whereas I thought I'd get out the A-Class 300 ZX Z32, because this car is, in real life, it's probably one of the best looking cars I've seen that came from Japan. It's just such a nice looking vehicle. And the upgrades you can give to this make it look even nicer, and this thing does get over 630 horsepower, so it's quite fast. Now, I don't exactly know all the water requirements, which is why I haven't been saying anything about the requirements that they need, because they're not really as well pointed out as they are in the later games. So, but this is one I actually particularly know. Quartermaster with the Integra with the same kind of design we've seen about 10,000 times. He has a bit of a fascination. I'm pretty sure it's Quartermaster. Anyways, he has a bit of a fascination with the shape of a triangle. It's his favorite shape, and will only try to face the Wanderer if said player is driving a triangle vehicle. So it's really confusing, to say the least. So it could be the Honda Integra you need, but I've heard that you could also challenge him with the Nissan 180SX. So possibly, who knows? But I can't confirm that because I've never actually managed to face him before. But that's what I've heard. And now we have here is a Mazda Cosmo. Really interesting, or Unos Cosmo, because that's what it really was known as in Japan at the time. But the Unos Cosmo with a very, very, very red style going on here. Bit of a funky logo or emblem. Speed skater is very red. And then here's my purple R33, which I want to make my own purple Comet, just with a little bit of more firepower. And that's exactly where this came from, pretty much. And if you're wondering about the name Show Off Dog, I think what happened, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it does. Now thinking about it, this is on a New Game Plus save, and when you do a New Game Plus, your name resets. And I had driven for a few days into this particular save, so that's why it shows that particular name as Show Off Dog. But here's another former boss of TXR1 that's now become a Wanderer. It is Grim Reaper, who, if I know correctly, Grim Reaper actually shows up if you're playing the game around midnight. And if you're not playing the game around midnight, just set the Dreamcast clock to midnight and he shows up. Pretty clever. And this particular R34, it's obviously nowhere near accurate, and it doesn't even have the right emblem because I'm terrible at making emblems. So I just had to go with something that's still kind of blue. This R34, I tried to go with some kind of style that a particular later boss in the later TXR games uses, hence why it's all blue and everything, so ha 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 ha. Someone already knows exactly what I tried to do. But here we got a Lancer Evolution 5, I can tell by the rear lights for this particular one, in a decent yellow color. It is Roadmaster, and I decided to go with the Subaru Impreza for this one because Impreza versus Lancer rivalry, which is sadly no more because Mitsubishi's not making the Lancer Evolution anymore. Subaru's still making the Impreza WRX Di. Subaru's still going, but Mitsubishi's called it quits, which really sucks. Really wish they didn't do that. My biggest problem I think that I had with them was Evo 10. They carried out the Evo 10 for too long. It went for like an 8-year run and had very few changes over time. They really didn't think about actually getting a refreshment or an update to the car. It just always looked the same, and I just wish they'd actually have done a little bit more with that. But I guess you could tell when the Evo 10 came around that they really just knew already up to that point that was going to be the last one. But here's another purple RX-7 as a Wanderer, which is yeah, quite interesting. This is Underdog, and here's my RX-7 FC again. Same kind of style I went with before, and now it's got the logo. The logo that I was trying to go for originally. It's the white Phantom logo. I kind of screwed. Yeah, you can see it's kind of screwed up. Underdog's car's got a decent amount of power. It's not too much though, but it is there. And then of course my RX-7 in this particular race is fully tuned. So this is really like a good example to show you how well this RX-7 FC would have been doing if I had just decided to keep using it for the second half and get it all the way upgraded. Not that I particularly would want to, but there you go. Kind of scratch an inch out of my shoulder right just about now. And yeah, I really did not do a very good job at this race, particularly because of all the screw-ups, but still was able to keep underdog behind me, which was the important part. And then we cut to a big pink Y34. I'm not even gonna argue if it's a Cedric or Gloria, because I has to do something with a girl, I know, but I can't remember which is which anymore. But this is Race Queen with a bit of a weeaboo-ish logo, and I kind of forgot to accelerate there at the start, which is oops, but it doesn't really matter because her car is her Y34 is not fully tuned, and my Chaser was. And then I kind of just did that, and that really didn't help because Race Queen just passed me by because it didn't really slow down much. Oops, to say the least. I kind of almost screwed that one up too because I was trying to turn over to pass on the left, and I almost kind of went right into the barricade there. This one was a particularly bad race that I had here with the Race Queen because I was just making a complete asshat out of myself. I just really wasn't driving very well, and just it was all a big mess. But to say that, but once up to this point, I pretty much managed to gain back the lead, and wasn't really much trouble from there on out. Especially because here I actually went very careful, which paid off. Even though she got really close, she's just still a bit behind me, and then pretty much after that, all was good. I didn't bother to try braking there because I thought maybe if I just gun it and go, maybe I'd still keep the lead, and I did. I mean, I don't know if it would have been the same case if I did it the other way, but it doesn't really matter. And then here we got another R30 Skyline. Now this particular one I actually did have show up during the actual playthrough of the game. I think I cut it out, but it was because this one did rejected my challenge. But this is Healthy Henry. these names sometimes, like, I don't know if there is really any inspiration to go by such a name, but hey, it's at least encouraging that you're healthy, so whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then I just seeing someone below there on my Skype, just logged in, and he or she has like 10 million exclamation marks in the display name. I'm just thinking there sitting, why that many? Do you really need that many? Because it just looks like spam a little bit, but anyways, doesn't matter. And then we cut right to back of my so there's a part in the back of my back that's kind of bugging me a bit right now, but whatever. Here we have Receding Rich in a blue S13 Silvia, which kind of looks similar to the one that the guy in Little Gang drives. Can't even remember his name anymore because this was like part 2 or 3 in the LP. This is already now part 33. So yeah, this is not how I just realized. This LP has gone on for over a month. This hasn't been a month-long game. So it took up pretty much a little bit of August, and then almost the entire duration of September, aside from, you know, a 2 day shy when you include the credits. But yeah, how about it? It's and it's not even going to be the longest LP, because especially when I get to TXR3, oh boy. You thought this game had a lot of rivals, TXR3 will just be like, wow. But this is the next one. We have an S15 Silvia, so you see, like I was saying about Silvias, a lot of them drive Silvias. Mad Dieter. So after we had Healthy Henry, and then we have Mad Dieter. So I'm wondering if maybe Mad Dieter should be going with Healthy Henry. Maybe Henry can give the Mad Dieter some tips. I don't think they really came up with a great logo for him. They just gave him like the M. Then again, some of them are really simple too. Scratch my ear. But yeah. This Mitsubishi Eclipse is pretty damn fast for B-Class. Makes like over 500 horsepower. It's somewhere around 520, I think. I don't even remember now. I should have actually checked. Doesn't matter. But here we got a 300 ZX, which is always nice to see. Known as Parking Master. I mean, if you're a master parking, then I don't know if you really want to have that be a name, because it just seems like, oh boy, he masters the parking skills, but that's not really what we're here for. We're here to drive and drive real fast. There ain't no parking here. Sorry, I just had to say that. But as you see, I got my Toyota Supra, which is all the way done up, similar to Full Moon Eve, just which mine does look fairly similar. Just, you know, there's a couple, except for the front, but I don't really get to show the front off very well, because oops. And now we suddenly cut to a Toyota Soarer, because nope, we're not just done with Soarers. Just at least this is one of the few Soarers that at least is kind of has a different look going for it. Because most of them I found looked quite similar. Not all. I'm not saying all of them were, but you know. Anyways, but this is Stalking at Death. So you can see we got some. We got like a Grim Reaper, then we got like a skeleton with an axe and a shield. So like two like skeleton like logos, and there's my Honda NSX. Now this NSX only I just didn't realize this at the time. It only does about 189 until you adjust the gears. I never really noticed that. I thought it was at least somewhere over 200, but nope, 189. That's all it'll do. But once you adjust the gears, the NSX is just absolute killer. And speaking of absolute killer, if you're not very good, here's a Mitsubishi GTO that I think, as far as I know, is actually fully tuned, because it's got over 600 horsepower, this particular Wanderer. But this is Show Off Sid. Yeah, it's quite a show off, alright, if you have that amount of power. Now, the ending of this just always cracks me up. Just what happens is just amazing. I was kind of not really excited when I was doing this, because this guy actually, we were in the Yokohama area originally, and he was just always able to just take me in the corners, just so bad at it. I should have chose a car that could get to these higher speed ranges a little better than the R33, but I kind of just felt like having the R33 out at the time, and I decided to do this guy. So then, now you see I was finally starting to reach the main speed where he starts to fall back, but he wasn't really falling back that much, and pretty much, to say the least. As you see here, we're getting to the corner here to slowly start entering into the Yokohama, exiting the Wangan. Or the Wangan, or blah 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 blah, whatever. But I forgot to turn, smacked right into the divider, which I thought really infuriated me. But he did the exact same thing, and the race was over, and I won. It was quite interesting. But here's another TXR1 boss that's now demoted to Wanderer. Or in the RX-7 with at least a familiar color style. It's just not the same way because the flames aren't there. It's just stripes. But this is Late Night Cinderella, who again is pretty much the same case as Grim Reaper, or you have to be playing the game around midnight to get her to show up. So if you don't want to stay up till midnight playing the game, just adjust your Dreamcast's clock so that it can so that the Dreamcast thinks you're playing at midnight. So that way you can just continue playing. That way she'll show up and it won't be midnight. But yeah, that's just a little tip. I think I mentioned that already, but whatever. So here's an interesting one. You remember the Team's Speedbox from TXR1? Well, over the course of events, I guess, in the game, over the course of events in TXR1 and TXR2, tension started between the teams, and pretty much there was a loss of trust and respect, and all these other kind of crap was going on. Especially, it was especially towards the leader. And pretty much the team imploded, and Speedbox no longer serves as a team, but the former leader decided to keep going with the name, but now just become a Wanderer, so now he is the only member of Speedbox now. So it's a pretty interesting thing what they did, but oh well. Sucks to be him, I guess. He also had like a red NSX in TXR1, and then they changed the color for TXR2. Hey, what about that? Now here's a very, very, very particular interesting one. Now, here's another former boss from TXR1, now Wanderer, that you probably obviously recognize. This is Zero. I have a Porsche 911 just like he does, but this is not the same 911 that Mr. Douchebag, as I'm still gonna call him, was driving earlier on in the pink Porsche 911. This is actually the 911 Turbo model, and only Zero drives it. And this thing is an absolute beast when you fully tune it, because the car does about, because this car will make over 830 horsepower fully tuned, and in comparison his Porsche only has about over 630 instead of 830. But this thing has probably easily the highest top speed of any car in the game. You can get, if you tune it properly, you can get this thing to over 250. So you're pretty much leaving everything behind at this point. Now here's an interesting one that actually was more challenging than I was gonna think it would have been. But this yellow RX-7 here, known as Resort Dude, I'm thinking his car must have been fully tuned or something, because even with my RX-7 here, which is making over 450 horsepower or something like that, I can't even remember now. I think because that car was just so light, it was really providing a lot of challenge. I think his car just makes just over 300 horsepower, but his car is also really light, so he was really surprisingly hard. I didn't think Resort Dude was going to be this difficult. I thought it was just going to be another one of those, we'll just get them over pretty quick, but no. He was, as you see here, is able to keep up quite well. I just screwed up there though, but so, ooh. Ugh. Oh god. I almost threw up in my mouth a bit for a second, and that really doesn't help. Alright, so here is a very, very interesting car. We got the old C10 out, the Skyline 2000 GTR with red lights for some reason, known as Faithful Fred. Now, I wanted to do it. Now, had I known at the time, I originally probably would have wanted to show me driving the car during this video. But holy Jesus, that car cannot turn in this game. It has like no handling whatsoever. It barely turns at all. It's pretty pathetic. They really screwed up the older cars in the game, and just the fact that this entire playthrough, I've been noticing all these little like issues with the game. I'm starting to think maybe this isn't my favorite TXR anymore. I mean, it's still a great game. I still stick to my guns about it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just not this. Maybe it just doesn't hold the same. Maybe it just doesn't hold the same kind of power for me anymore. And this is the second last one, and you'll see why it chose brought out the Porsche again. But that was Rainy Day, by the way, in a Mazda RX-7, or not an RX-7, it's an RX-3, I think, actually. I actually know his objective, and his objective is you have to have a car with a lot of miles on it, so you've been driving it a long time. And I think it also has to be the only car in your garage. It's pretty insane, to say the least, but yeah, that's definitely something you would have to do with New Game Plus. And finally, the last Wanderer and the last rival by number 372 out of 372. And this is, of course, Sneaky South and a Mitsubishi Starion, and there's the A-Class 240Z. This just absolute monster. You just look at the amount of speed it gives. It's insane, to say the least. So yeah, pretty much you already know who's gonna win, so I just might as well get towards my closing comments for this LP. So this has been Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2, and wow. I was worrying when I was doing this, before I did this game, that I thought it would be a difficult LP because of the way it was formatted, but no. I managed to find a way, and it worked out quite well for me, so. But yeah, it's this game a lot of people wanted me to do, and I finally got around to doing it, and there you go. It's a great game, and it's definitely recommended for the Dreamcast. It's one of the best Dreamcast racing games available. I still stick to my guns. It's a fantastic game, but I may not think it's the same anymore for being my favorite Tokyo Xtreme Racer. But regardless of which, it's still very highly recommended playing. But anyways, guys, so that's been Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2. I thank you all for watching, and if you've been sticking around, and I'll see you next time. Take care.